for joining us, the Wealthy Retailer Podcast with your host, Dan Holman. Every episode, Dan dives into the retail headlines that matter to you, the independent retailer, covering topics ranging from retailer inventory, technology, marketing, retailers' questions, and more. The Wealthy Retailer Podcast is brought to you by Canadian Retail Solutions. Learn more at retailbycrs.com. And now, here's Dan Holman.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Wealthy Retailer Podcast. Good to see you again, Rob. It's middle of August, trucking along here, man. Got a little vacation in. I saw you were floating on the river or something.
Got a little break. Well, when you're as big as I am, floating comes easy, my friend. But it was a nice little break, and back at her. It's that time of year where, jacket in the morning, get a sunburn in the afternoon. So a little bit of everything. Some good headlines this week. Ready to get back on the headline train and talk about the stuff that rocking the retail world. Got a few great stories. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. One of them, some faces are prettier than others, Dan, and this one story, the importance of being the face of your business. I really like that. And the next story we're going to chat about is for your retail showroom. This is an interesting story about creating a very unique showroom model, and maybe some good takeaways there. And it's a reality right now. There's a lot of challenge for folks hiring new employees out there, and some of the employers, they're dangling signing bonuses to attract new staff, and I'm sure trying to pull out all kinds of tricks. So really looking forward to your thoughts on that one. And a great retailer question this week. We've got a retailer facing some inventory shipping challenges for the fall season. Okay, sir. Our first story comes from entrepreneur.com, talking about why you really need to become the face of your business. What stood out here, Dan?
Well, So Erica McMillan is a brand strategist, and she submitted this article. Remind me. I think it was entrepreneur.com, wasn't it? Yeah. In entrepreneur.com. And so Erica, goes on to talk about some of the oldest and most iconic brands, that have survived, multiple decades, perhaps even centuries or more, operating as faceless brands. They've always had their brand and their logo, and maybe it works for them, maybe it doesn't. But for a retailer, we've really got to think about this right now. If we look today at the most successful companies, we know the face of the founder, of the leader, the president, the CEO, whatever. We talked about our friend that went, up in the rocket. I won't say penis-shaped rocket anymore. A little pushback. Actually, I just said it. So
I was just gonna say check mark. Yeah. Said it again.
We saw Bezos go up in a rocket. Well, today, most of us know what Bezos looks like. More importantly than that, probably the most famous sort of not famous, but recognizable guy is Elon. Elon Musk is a really recognizable face as the founder of his company. And this list goes on and on and on. Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson and these guys have all become the faces of their organization, Rob. And no longer can we be the McDonald's, Chevrolet, Budweiser. We don't know who is. Most of us wouldn't know who the CEO is of those big iconic brands. Like most of us couldn't tell you who started McDonald's, who's the original founder. A lot of us think it's Michael Keaton.
that thief Ray Kroc stole it from the brothers.
So Erica just sort of goes on to talk about the importance of being the face of your organization. And there were a few that she shared that I completely connected with. Customers connect strongly with a personality, not a brand, right? Today, we are more influencer than we are perhaps retailer. We're influencing decision with our personality. And that means we've got to get out there. We have this ability to tell our story better than anyone else. And believing in your own product and or service is the biggest, strongest statement you can make. We have to become the modern day entrepreneur, the entrepreneur influencer, if you will, right? The strongest statement an influencer can make is about their product or service. It's them getting out there and telling us that story, right? To be the face of your business, the business you founded, means that you're putting yourself out there. You're not just calling the shots from behind a desk, right? There is no amount of fancy advertisement, celebrityism, if that's even a word, or paid endorsements that match a level of trust that's created when you connect with your audience, right? It's easy to hide behind the name or the company or even a staff member or an executive. I'm guilty of this. I was faced with a challenging customer and I said to this customer, hey, talk to Noah at CRS. He's the guy. But it's my face that's out there that forced Andy to reach out to me. Yeah. And so it wasn't that I was really hiding. I went through the explanation that I'm not the guy to handle this for you, but I'm going to make damn sure it does get handled. But you see, that was me being out there in front of my audience. And the more we think about, the power of getting out there, you'll recognize that customers know the brands that face challenge. Customers know, what they see on TV, and that's just not really what they're buying, right? They're buying from us today. We think of, Rob, our most successful retailers are the ones that stand in front of their customers.
Have their face out the most, yeah.
Right.
I was just going to ask you, if you kind of had to give a grade today, Dan, of the retailers and work with, how are they doing with that? How would you say they're doing getting their faces out? And part B of that is maybe a bit of some of their key team members too, like your own example.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this. The level of success that we see today in independent retail has a direct correlation to their public presentation. It's not always the owner, but more often than not, the most successful stories we see today are the owners or founders of these companies getting out there and connecting with their audience. Yeah. There's probably no better example than Michelle at Elle's Boutique. That's somebody that's in front of her audience every single day and being her true, authentic self. This is me. Yep. This is what I look like. It's there's nothing to hide behind. This is me. Yeah. And she gets out there and connects with her audience. We see lots of examples of that, in and around the Edmonton area. There are many businesses built on the influencer model. And, if I was grading independent retail, I'm going to say it's probably a B. That's the average. It's a B. We've got these A+ students that are killing it. They're thriving in today's marketplace. And then we've got the non-existent who are suffering. And
what are the barriers, Dan? What do you see in fear? Just fear.
100% fear. 100% fear. Fear, I'm not good at it. I stumble. I don't speak well. I don't look well. I've got, confidence issues, in myself. And at some point you have to come to terms with, I don't give a shit what you think about me. I'm just me.
Yep.
And if you can't connect with just me, move on.
Well, and ironically enough, it's those stumbles, it's the reality of who they are that's probably going to resonate the most with the audience they're trying to connect with.
Right, Rob. It's every stutter step that we make. It's every backtrack. It's every F-bomb that we drop that makes us who we are, which makes us real. I was on a call this morning with a client and we were talking about, being out there on social media. And, she was talking about how bad or how difficult, how much investment she has to make in getting the right photography. Well, we're all smart enough to know that the stuff we see in Vogue and House and Home and all these other Canadian home, it's all bullshit. It's all touched up, Sports Illustrated, airbrushed bullshit. And that's great. If you want to be in a magazine, you go and you do those kind of, you pay for those or take those kind of images. But if you're a retailer looking to connect with your audience, just be you.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the wrinkle, right? That's not what they're about. They're looking to connect with this personal audience. And, to Erica's point in this article, the power lies in the hands of those that are prepared to stand up for their business, right? You don't have this luxury of the revolving door CEO in indie retail. You're it. Yeah. And you live and die by your own sword. We can't just go out and hire a new CEO in our ladies' boutique. It's just not going to fly. It's us.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Unlike big corporate retail, when they flounder, they can the GM, they can the president, they can the CEO and put somebody else in. Oh, I was going to make a joke about the Bay. I won't.
Okay.
I was going to say something about Bonnie Brooks, but here's the deal. That's not the world we live in. And our success is completely dependent on us connecting with our audience.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gives us the winning advantage against everybody else out there, our ability to connect.
No, and I love that. And just folks, have no fear. Just go out, be your unique self. And you know what? Your audience, your customer, they're going to love you for it. And if they don't, newsflash, they're probably not going to be a customer with you.
Your customer anyways.
Don't worry about it.
Right. And you got to get past the giving a shit about what people think.
Totally.
Right. People will respect you for being you. They'll admire you for being you. And every hell goddamn shit that falls out of your mouth, that's who they're connecting with. That's who they long to connect with. Yeah. Be yourself.
Awesome. Well, speaking of unique, our next story comes from retaildive.com and just talking about generate that unique showroom model. This was cool. I really enjoyed this story. And what did you like about it, Dan?
Well, you might not remember this, but about a year ago or so, we started to talk a little bit more about Outer. So Outer is an outdoor furniture brand. They're a DTC or direct to consumer brand. And I think about a year or so ago, just as spring was hitting last year, there's lots of challenge. Summer was hitting, pardon me, not spring. Summer's hitting. We'd been locked down, but yet here's Outer just trucking along.
Yeah.
And now here's a follow-up story. In July, they announced their 1,000th neighborhood store. Now, before you go getting all crazy about who's got 1,000 stores, this is a neighborhood store. By neighborhood, they really mean your neighbors. Outer uses their customer base and their outdoor spaces, so your neighbor's backyard, as a showroom. The company's co-founder, Yaki Lu, I call him Jake, says, we saw an opportunity to change the way outdoor furniture was designed, but also how people shop for it. We thought the experience of shopping for furniture was not great. And when we went shopping for outdoor furniture in an indoor showroom that's protected from the elements, it didn't make any sense to them. It's not authentic or real. So what they've done is gone to their customer base and invites their customers to be hosts. I'm using my air quotes, hosts, and show Outer products that they've bought and are using to other potential customers. Liu said that given sort of the rise in crowdsourcing and funding, crowd-funded businesses like Lyft and Airbnb, that having hosts inviting interested customers into their backyard made natural sense for them. It was a sort of natural consequence and completely less invasive because it's out in a backyard. Right. So they've gone and created 1,000 neighborhood showrooms, which, Rob, really is yours and my backyard.
So how's that working with the host? Like, is it something that they're really open about it, or do they get compensated? Or
So good question.
What's that model look like?
So they do get compensated and given discounts to use the Outer products. They don't get sales scripts or commissions, but they do generate their own ambassadorship or their own ambassador income, if you will. And it allows them to generate a small income by using their backyard as a showcase, or gets them discounts to buy more outdoor product. And these guys are an outdoor furniture brand. It's all outdoor furniture. So, it's a buy it, and a decade later look at, do I want to change it? So
do you see any opportunities, Dan, for other categories and in kind of that, you talk about that Airbnb model, but in that retail world?
Think about what this in my mind is the greatest example of ambassadorship.
Yeah. We've got
customers that are now raving fans that want to show off what they bought in hopes of educating you. They did a study. Let me just go. So these guys did a study.
Yeah.
That sort of unveiled what it meant for them. It's not high pressure sales or anything. It's really the top 3 reasons. Maybe I'll give you the top 3 reasons. Okay. So the top 3 reasons that people wanted to become brand hosts were, number 1, I get a discount on my future buys. Number 2, they're supporting a brand that they truly believe in. And then number 3, I think, if I remember, I got to read it. Was the inspiration, was right. the ability to inspire a future customer. Well, this, in my mind, is a great example of ambassadorship. And we've talked about ambassador programs in our retail world before. Yeah. I need you to tell people what you're wearing, right? Think about the red carpet. Yeah. First question they asked.
Yeah, totally.
What are you wearing? That's what I want my apparel stores to think like. I want you to create this ambassadorship where your raving fans are screaming from the mountaintop on your behalf. And, can you generate a discount? Damn straight you can. Yeah. We've talked about the ambassador program before. It's the greatest. I mean, this whole referral, it's probably the best kept secret in retail, it seems. Here's $50 for you to give to your best friend or to someone new. Yeah. When she comes in, I'll give you $50 as well. Look at what your customer acquisition costs are. Decide what the gift and the get is.
I love it. And if you compare it to maybe like an influencer program, where to me, this is so much better in that these are they're customers first and foremost. And they're not just being paid to all of a sudden seem like customers.
Right.
They're customers in the first place, and becoming that awesome ambassador for you, no matter what it is that you are selling.
And Rob, that's a great point. Influencers today are first and foremost full of shit. They're getting paid to do, in some cases, a decent job of showcasing product. In other cases, they're an embarrassment. They've been paid to highlight product to try to get someone else to buy it. Well, there's not a lot of genuine in that. There are some exceptions to the rule. When you get, you get a celebrity endorsement, an influencer, that's maybe a little bit different, but they first have to be customers. Yeah. You have to be a customer of my store before I ever invite you to share, with your audience. And the people that are out there that believe themselves to be influencers, professional influencers, don't always do the best job of showcasing who and what you are. You do a better job, as we talked about in the first article here. That's you, it's not them. Well, and these guys have gone and created great ambassadors for their business, which has allowed them, to say that, hey, we opened our 1,000th neighborhood store. We've got 1,000 customers that are showcasing product for us.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, that was really cool. I like, definitely influencers has a lot of the headlines right now, if you will, to just reframe that thinking into the same type of idea. But if you focus it more to the ambassadorship of it, like you're talking a much more entrenched, real legit customer, and talk about a better lifetime value than just that transactional relationship with the influencers. So
completely agree.
Very cool.
This podcast is brought to you by Canadian Retail Solutions. We've been empowering retailers across North America for 30 years with the latest in point-of-sale technology, best-in-class support, merchandise intelligence with open-to-buy planning, and much more. CRS has the retail solution to help take your retail business to the next level of success. Visit retailbycrs.com to learn more. Remember, Canadian Retail Solutions exists to help make you, the independent retailer, better.
Okay, Dan, our next story comes from cbc.ca, a story about, the challenges out there finding staff. We've got this the story talking about employers dangling signing bonuses to bring in the workers, all kinds of different values. What do you like? What don't you like in this?
Well, CBC, whatever, great headline. There's a bunch of bullshit in the article that really doesn't hold true. For me, this is reminiscent of 2007, 2008, when I moved to the land of milk and honey, come out to Alberta, you're in retail, you open your front door and money fell into it. You're getting paid $22 an hour to work at a coffee shop, like crazy booming economy. And we paid people signing bonuses. We attracted people with money to come from wherever they were. The difference that we have today is we're not competing in a labor market. We're competing in a stay-at-home market.
Right.
We're trying to entice people to come to work versus stay home, right? I think unemployment at the end of June hit about 7.8% in Canada. And we're not a whole lot different than what's going on south of the border. We're being paid effectively as much not to go to work as we are to go to work. With the extension of unemployment and all the acronyms, CERB and Q, whatever,
subsidies,
all the subsidies, it's created this massive shortage of what we think about and as frontline, retail and restaurant, food and beverage hit harder than any other industry, obviously. And have a pretty soft spot for those guys that are battling their woes, that they can't even get staff to come to work because they get paid as much on EI or EI and a combination of subsidy to stay at home. And so maybe we are back to a place where there are some signing bonuses. But I'm going to say this. If you are a retailer and you're looking in the unemployment market for your next hire, you're going to get an unemployed person.
Yeah.
Right. The best people are out there working, and the best way to maybe get them to make a move in uncertain time is with that carrot. And so while this article spoke, spoke about desperate employers, dangling signing bonuses to lure in workers, really it's about us being creative with our remuneration plan to attract those that are already in the market or in the workplace, not those that have chosen to stay at home. And now listen, before everybody starts screaming at me that I'm this insensitive SOB, I know that there are some exceptions. I know that there are people that really want to go to work and haven't found anything yet.
Right.
But I stand by the best people are already working. Don't put an ad on Indeed. You're going to get resumes for people that have to demonstrate they're looking for a job, but maybe don't necessarily want one. And,
never show up for the interview.
Yeah. It's like putting an ad in the Toronto Sun or the Edmonton Sun. Oh, here I'm picking on a media guy again, but you're dumping an ad into a rag that's not going to get you anywhere. You're dumping money into a cesspool of, the unwanted reader. The reader that's in that paper isn't looking for a job.
So break it down, Dan. What do folks need to be doing? What's better energy and, more importantly, money spent right now?
It is still about paying people more than a fair wage. It is about paying, coming up with a pay for performance calculator that pays someone, their hourly wage or whichever's greater. And I have a great little calculator, a pay for performance calculator. If you send an email to dan@thewealthyretailer.com, I'll share that calculator with you that says, hey, this is what it looks like today for a 35-hour worker making $12 an hour. And here's how much they should generate in sales. And if they generate X, here's how much they could make.
Yeah.
Well, if you go out to someone with a presentation that, hey, you can make $15 an hour working in my store, they're not likely to jump ship. But if the number's $22 an hour to work in my store, that sounds a little more enticing. So you've got to go into the workplace, into the employed field, looking for your next employee, not dangling a signing bonus to an unemployed person.
Right.
Again,
now,
there are some exceptions to the rule. I don't mean to sound so insensitive to the unemployed, but
what's your thoughts, Dan, on being front loaded versus some maybe back loaded options to pay more with folks?
I'm going to
Share
go back
with
to
you.
the ski. I'm going to go back to the ski industry,
Okay.
where we hold bonus to end of season so people don't escape before the season's over.
Okay.
You know, think about those resort workers, you know, that have to be there till the last day the lift goes up the mountain. If they're not there, the lift don't go up the mountain. So we hold on to their you know, season bonus until the last week or the last day. This is how you get the bonus, by sticking it out with us. So that's a bit of a backloaded bonus. The front loading bonus, the front loading signing bonus in a non-contractual world makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
You're putting out all the risk for what may not be a
Till
big
tomorrow's shift, and that's
right.
it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, for us, when we started signing bonuses in 2007, you know, hiring delivery, warehouse and delivery staff, it was after 3 months, here's the check that you get. And if we haven't convinced them to stay on with us after 3 months, or made ourselves attractive enough to them become part of our family in the 3 months, you know, so be it. That's on us, not on them. So there is an opportunity there to do something after a probationary period. But again, if it's pay for performance, I want them to earn more. I don't want people to have a capped earning potential. I want them to have this uncapped opportunity.
Yeah. Love that. Is it fair to say, Dan, that, you know, obviously there's the emergency need of, I have to fill shifts tomorrow. Like, we need to open, we need people. You do what you got to do, but at the same time, you got to put as much time and effort into planning that transition, because you just can't stand there with a bucket of water trying to put out the fire each and every day.
Rob, I'm going to say it's better for someone not to be served than to be served poorly.
Oh, okay.
Right.
No, interesting point. That's
I would much rather have a customer feel like I was understaffed and couldn't help them than I did a shitty job helping them.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we've all seen, you know, good examples of bad behavior in stores where we'd have been better off without that person.
Right.
Right. They have the ability to attract and repel lifetime business. They have the ability to attract and repel tomorrow's customer. If someone hears me having I'm understaffed, and that happens, and I'm out there working the floor, and someone can hear me having this great conversation, but can't break away to talk to you, maybe there is this idea that they want to come back and feel that for themselves, versus getting a poor experience from an inadequate staff member.
Right. I can see that. I can see people just thinking with the blinders on of that one transaction, I need to, that $50, when in reality, that customer comes once a month, and you're risking $600 by having that crappy experience.
Right. I'd rather them not be served than be served poorly.
Yeah. Okay, Dan, retailer question of the week. You got one talking about inventory here. You know, we went from shortage of staff to shortage of inventory. Yeah. Tell us a bit about this.
Yeah. So this question has come up a couple of times in the last 10 days or so. Fall inventory that would normally be standing at someone's front door is maybe behind a little bit. You know, this question came from someone who said, "Hey, listen, I'm being short shipped from my vendors, or they're telling me my August delivery is not coming till the end of September. And so what do I do? How do I overcome this?" This is not going to be an uncommon conversation.
Right.
There is a level of scarcity in the marketplace today. There is still supply chain disruption. Vendors are still trying to get their proverbial shit together, you know, to recover from this deal, the same as everybody else. And so we've got to become a little bit more creative. We talked about diversity a couple of weeks ago. You got to diversify your vendor base. You got to diversify your supply chain. And that starts by you going to your non-traditional vendors or sources to get product. You know, if you're here in Canada, you know, you're probably very quickly going to faire.com or, you know, one of the other marketplaces and looking at available product. Maybe you're buying some goods out of LA at Fashion Go or LA Showroom, but you're really looking for product that's available right now to fill in. The biggest challenge, bigger challenge than being over-positioned in inventory, is being under-positioned. If I'm under-positioned in inventory, I can't generate a sale, right? And this is a place that lots of people are. We've run our inventory so lean, and we've been waiting for fall goods to come that just aren't showing up at my door. Well, I got to go look for it to fill in somewhere else. And so as I talked about with Brad here, you know, you got to get on some of these other opportunities as just stopgaps. You know, maybe they're not your next great brand, but they're bringing in at the categorical level, product that feeds a need that she has in your store. If you're in home goods, you know, you're clearly trying to diversify because, you know, we are so delayed. Foam is delayed. Zippers are delayed. Everything that makes up furniture is delayed. And, you know, you're maybe looking at other opportunities. You know, apparel is easy to overcome. We can find product in lots of different places. We're in the throes of trade show season right now. You know, Magic is on this week and next, I think Atlanta's on, Outdoor Retailer's on right now. There's so much buying opportunity, and going to those vendors and saying, what's available right now? What are your immediates? And going to the vendors that you work with and saying, you know, what's on the ATS available to sell list? Send me the ATS list. And let's go way, way back to conversations about building these good relationships with your vendors, treating them like partners, not like, you know, flies on shit. Let's pull them close to us. And those that we have the best relationship with are working with us, not against us, and saying, okay, hang on a second. I've got some product that a retailer can't take. Maybe I can steer it to you, but you've got to be able to have that open conversation to fix this problem of inventory shortage or inventory delay.
Yep.
All right.
Well said. That's great. Yeah. I'm sure there's some other questions out there, Dan. Keeping folks up at night, how do they connect with you?
Just, you know, the easiest way is to send an email to dan@thewealthyretailer.com. Fire your question in there and we'll have a quick chat about it. And of course, throw it in the swimming pool for retailer questions here on the podcast.
Right on. And folks, if you haven't yet, head to retailbycrs.com, sign up for that newsletter. Each and every week, we got these great, the links to these stories that we're talking about. If you want to dive a little deeper as well, we always have a few extra stories. This week, we've got one talking about a Canadian toy retailer that has grown their digital sales 300% with AI, artificial intelligence. We got a story about some vaccine lotteries for the vax staff. I know that's a hot button topic, but you might have some interest there, and a story about things to consider in order to successfully sell your business. And so there's some interesting parallels in that story that I thought was really great. That, you know what, you may have no thought whatsoever of selling your business. You should read that story today because it's all about planting that seed for that future giant oak tree you're going to be getting down the road. Great job this week, Dan.
You too, brother. All right, everyone, have a great week, and we'll chat again next week.
Sounds good. Bye now.